Hello, America. It's Eric Erickson. It's October 16th. These are the 4 things you need to know this afternoon before you go home. Up first, Democrats in the Senate have voted to keep the government shut down. This is their 10th vote. But also, they've officially voted against paying the military during the government shutdown. Now, the president is rearranging government funding in the Pentagon's budget. He's taking things from, for example, operations or from research and development and moving it into the payroll budget. The Democrats say this is unconstitutional. This is illegal. The president's not allowed to do this. They haven't actually filed a suit against him. No progressive group has even attempted to stop the president from doing what he's doing, although they and even some Republicans say he's really not allowed to do this. So the Republicans prepared legislation to make it clear that the president could pay the military during the shutdown. The Democrats have killed that legislation, refusing to pay the military. The president says he's going to do it anyway, and if the Democrats don't like it, they can sue him, which they're not going to do simply because of the way it would look to people. The stock market has tanked today. Wall Street is increasingly concerned about loans made by regional banks around the country. There is a First Brands business. It makes products for automobiles. The whole thing has come undone. The company looked like well, there may be some serious issues for this particular company and the way it represented itself, and a number of regional banks lended money to it, and the bigger banks are pointing to the regional banks and suggesting the regional banks were too cavalier. Now, keep in mind, we have a number of major banks in this country that have really become too big to fail, like J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, and others. They're not actually involved in this, though. They're just pointing their fingers at the regional banks. They don't like the regional bank competitors that have been growing, but the regional banks, some of them probably have made some bad loans, and in the process may actually come undone by their bad business decisions and the loans they've made. This is shaking Wall Street. They're scared to death about a black swan event that could upend the economy that no one sees coming. And this harkens back to the financial crisis of the end of the Bush administration in 2008. So they're a little bit worried about how this plays out. Up next, the president's going to meet with President Zelenskyy at the White House tomorrow to talk about ending the war in Ukraine and possibly giving the Ukrainians Tomahawk missiles that the United States would have to approve the targets, and we know what one of the targets would be. The drone factories in Russia that have been used to make the drones going into Ukraine. However, maybe the president's going to change his mind. It looked like he was going to give them the drones, but now the president has announced he's meeting with Vladimir Putin in Budapest, in Hungary, in a couple of weeks. First, he's going to send Marco Rubio to figure out the terms of what they're going to discuss, and then he will meet with Vladimir Putin to try to get peace. Now, most outside observers believe Putin doesn't actually want peace in Ukraine. He's geared his economy towards war, is willing to wage war, and doesn't like the Ukrainians and wants to get rid of Zelenskyy. I think President Trump is at least going to give it one more try before approving Tomahawk missiles. Lastly, for years, Republicans have lamented, I have lamented, the weaponization of the IRS against conservatives. It has gone under the radar, but even going back to the Clinton administration, prominent conservatives oftentimes just so happen to get audited by the IRS. Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, a lot of prominent conservatives over the years, Republican politicians. Even during the Clinton administration, surprise, surprise, Paula Jones got harassed by the IRS. During the Obama administration, the IRS targeted conservative groups, denying them 501c3 status. We now know that Lois Lerner actually oversaw this, and we actually do know from the Inspector General at the IRS that IRS officials who leaned to the Democrats and were sympathetic to the Democrats were using their clout within the IRS to target conservatives. So don't complain, Democrats, when you find out the president and his allies are taking advantage of the government shutdown to remove certain people considered to be Democratic loyalists within the IRS, and they're installing people considered loyal to the president and the GOP. The president wants to start targeting left-wing groups and auditing those left-wing groups. Arabella, the Soros Fund, the Open Society Group, things like that the IRS has largely avoided, even as they've targeted comparable conservative groups. The president believes that this is a sign of the deep state sympathetic to the Democrats with inside the IRS. And I've got to tell you, as much as I'm dismissive of a lot of the deep state conspiracies, the right says, I am fully on board this because it is absolutely clear to me in the patterns and practices that the IRS has been weaponized against the right in the past and used by Democratic administrations to target their opponents. And only now are the Democrats screaming foul because the Republicans intend to install loyalists of the IRS. but you started at Democrats. You did, and you know you did. Just look at what Lois Lerner did. This goes back to the Man for All Seasons quote about when you cut down all the laws to go after the devil, what happens when you've cut down all the laws and the devil stops and turns against you? You think Donald Trump's the devil? Well, you cut down all the laws and precedents to go after him, and now he's turning on you. You can't say, I didn't warn you this would happen, whether you like it or not. These are the 4 things you need to know this afternoon. I'm Eric Erickson. Have a great afternoon. Stay informed, stay engaged. Please keep the faith.